You've probably skipped reading the terms and conditions countless times, right? Well, for one lottery winner, that tiny oversight cost him everything. This isn't just a cautionary tale. It's a deep dive into how a single, seemingly insignificant clause can systematically dismantle an entire fortune, and how you could be at risk too. Michael Fletcher stared at the lottery ticket in disbelief. It was a typical Thursday evening when he decided to buy a ticket after a long day of work at the auto shop. He hadn't expected much, just a fleeting dream of what life could be. But now, the numbers shimmered like stars on his screen. He had won the multi-million-dollar jackpot. The euphoria rushed over him, a tidal wave of joy. Those mundane moments of life, filled with oil changes and demanding customers, faded away. At home, the walls echoing his laughter, Michael called his best friend, Rob. "I actually did it, Rob. We're rich." His voice cracked with emotion. Rob's disbelief turned to joy as they dreamt aloud about lavish vacations and sleek cars, picturing a life of freedom and security. The duo laughed, their heads filled with visions of opulence. Michael could already see his old boss's disapproving face as he submitted his resignation. As the celebratory days unfolded, Michael's dreams manifested into plans, upgrading his small apartment, booking trips to tropical islands, and finally investing in his passion for restoring classic cars. He basked in the warmth of well-wishers who clung to him like moths to a flame, eager to taste even a morsel of his newfound fortune. Yet somewhere, deep inside, a whisper of doubt nagged at him, an inkling that this dream could unravel. While Michael shaped his future, a dark figure observed from the shadows. Eleanor Sykes, a seasoned attorney specializing in lottery law, pieced together the implications of his win. As news spread about a man taking the jackpot, she couldn't help but feel a sense of dread. She had seen countless clients fall prey to the hidden stipulations buried within the lottery's terms. Few escaped the grip of those unyielding clauses like hidden leeches, waiting to drain a host's lifeblood. Eleanor sifted through the voluminous terms and conditions of the lottery. She found it, a clause nearly imperceptible among the legal jargon, woven into the fine print, a philanthropic reinvestment stipulation. The lottery demanded that winners allocate a percentage of their winnings into specific approved ventures, or risk losing everything. She sighed heavily, knowing the eventual fallout would be catastrophic for someone like Michael, who was blissfully unaware. Back in Michael's world, he poured champagne with reckless abandon in celebration. Surrounded by friends, every fizz felt like a promise of bright tomorrows. But as he cracked open the bottle, an envelope slid through his mail slot, a formal notification from the lottery office. Curiosity piqued. He set it aside, too distracted to open it. The celebration was his priority. What could possibly go wrong? Days turned into weeks, and the euphoria began to settle. While Michael was busy planning a gifts-laden Christmas for his family, he finally turned his attention to that unopened envelope. Unfolding it, he skimmed through unfathomable words, confusion washing over him. "Reinvestment clause," he murmured. The rush of excitement waned, replaced by a growing sense of dread. Why hadn't he noticed it before? How could something so pivotal be hidden in legalese? Eleanor opened another file on her computer, a database filled with horror stories of lottery winners, besieged by bureaucracy. Each case told of individuals who, like Michael, descended into chaos after encountering the intricacies of their winnings. There was a morbid fascination in seeing how lives disintegrated under the pressure of seemingly insignificant terms. She felt the weight of responsibility bearing down. This time, she needed to intervene and save him from his own fortune. Determined to understand the implications, Michael spent hours diving into dusty online forums and articles. Members detailed their own nightmarish experiences when fulfilled dreams collapsed under the strain of unexpected legalities. His chest tightened with every word. Panic crept in. This was no mere misunderstanding. It was a looming threat hovering over the remnants of his luck. As his victorious fantasy frayed unease churned within him, finally, a meeting was set. Eleanor managed to secure a time to speak with Michael, her mind racing with what she would say, how she would breach the ominous subject. She needed to prepare him for what lay ahead, the volatility of wealth tethered to obscure regulations. Perhaps she could serve as a guide, turning a burgeoning nightmare into a road leading back to normalcy. She hoped he could take it, recognized he needed to brace for impact. The stakes had never been higher. Michael arrived at the cafe, his heart pounding. The caffeine-laden air buzzed with the chatter of ordinary lives, cast starkly against his extraordinary reality. He scanned the room and spotted Eleanor, a composed figure, already waiting. Approaching her, he felt a cocktail of apprehension and hope. Would she share in his joy, or lead him to face an inevitable reckoning? He took a seat across from her, his palms clammy and eyes searching for answers. "Michael," Eleanor began, her voice steady, yet filled with empathy. "There's something we need to discuss regarding your winnings." The world around him blurred as she leaned forward, and he held his breath, struck by the gravity of her tone. She unspooled the tangled web of terms, her words painting a bleak landscape filled with unforeseen complications and looming consequences. His reality began to fracture as he gripped the table, grappling with disbelief. The coffee cup trembled in Michael's hand, the weight of Eleanor's revelations crashing around him like a vicious storm. "A percentage!" he exclaimed, disbelief mingling with outrage. "What do you mean I need to reinvest my winnings? I thought I was free." The realization crushed him. The vibrant world he had just begun to embrace threatened to slip from his grasp. Eleanor's calm demeanor remained, even as Michael's frustration erupted. "It's a common clause in many lottery agreements. They call it philanthropic reinvestment. You can't just take the money and run." Her voice was firm yet sympathetic. She understood the game that had unfolded, but she couldn't bear its bitter taste of betrayal. Michael's expression shifted from anger to fear, a heavy realization blooming deep within. A businessman known for his shrewd dealings, he understood the power of contracts and the fear they bred. Unbeknownst to Michael, Gregory had no intention of allowing a runaway winner to challenge the system or expose vulnerabilities. To him, the rules were simply tools to maintain control. The jackpot dream was rapidly morphing into a bureaucratic nightmare. Michael began to feel the strain as he tried to comply with the stipulations, attending meetings, researching pre-approved investment options, and scrambling to fit his dreams into a rigid mold. Each step felt like an inching descent into a pit. The members involved were cold and detached from the emotional turmoil he now faced. Yet he resolved to fight back, believing he could wrestle his happiness from the jaws of obscured fine print. Eleanor observed the burgeoning panic in Michael, acutely aware of the precision of the lottery's mechanics. She devoted herself to discovering any loopholes, feverishly searching through old case files and appeals as Michael fought against the inevitability of his situation. Days flew by in a haze of paperwork, uncertainty palpable as frustration rooted deeper within him. Gregory watched from afar, recognizing how close Michael had come to resisting the system. Ultimately, he could not allow any winner to create a precedent that would endanger the terms safeguarding the lottery's revenue. The stakes weren't just dollars. They were the carefully curated equilibrium between dreams offered and reality delivered. He gathered his team, mobilizing legal combatants to ensure Michael would not escape the fold easily. Back in Michael's world, the day arrived when Eleanor revealed her findings. "There's a legal loophole here," she said, her excitement palpable. "If we can argue the lottery's clause is unrealistic and misleading, we may have grounds to challenge it." Hope sparked anew in Michael's heart. Overwhelmed yet invigorated, he began drafting appeals and digging deeper into the existence of similar cases, ready to illuminate the shadows of exploitation. Attention with an emotional narrative of Michael's journey. Though his heart raced at the headlines, he felt a renewed sense of purpose, a small flicker of hope that he could leverage the emotional weight of his predicament to sway public empathy. As the story unfurled in the public sphere, Michael garnered support from others who had fallen victim to similarly hidden clauses and agreements, blurring the line between aspiration and ignorance. Overnight, he transformed from just another winner into a voice for all the voiceless voices, muffled beneath intricate legal jargon. It felt good to rally people, yet with power came the dread of retaliation, and he knew the opposing facades would not relent easily. Michael watched as Eleanor presented her case. "This clause is not only predatory but an affront to those who dare to dream," she declared, capturing the atmosphere. Her relentless arguments about transparency radiated with conviction, igniting something deep inside the packed Corthe. Shared ideal of protecting dreams. As she spoke, Michael could feel the tide turning, but shadows of uncertainty still loomed. Buzzed with the mantra that power always found a way to suppress rebellion under the guise of legality. For them, Michael was a mere speed bump, a distraction from the larger design that preserved their interests. During closing arguments, Michael stood up, heart racing. He shared his story. Insightful, raw. I didn't just win money. I thought I won freedom. Yet what I experienced is deliberate. It's about control, and control over dreams is a dangerous game. His voice resonated in the hushed courtroom, and Michael knew he'd crossed a threshold. This was not just about him anymore. It was about confronting the hidden dangers embedded in the structures of society. A week passed in suspense, the world holding its breath as the jury deliberated. Both camps waited, nerves inching frayed and taut, every tick of the clock marking the heaviness of uncertainty. Michael struggled to cling to hope, while Eleanor remained steadfast, regardless of the outcome. What had begun as a profit-driven monopoly was now laying the groundwork for societal change. Foreman stood, voice steady, but serious. "We find in favor of the claimant." Gasps echoed the deal's finality, as every heart skidded to a halt. A tremor ran through the atmosphere, and Michael grasped Eleanor's hand firmly, hope mingling with dread. "Michael Fletcher." Relief surged through him like wildfire as gasps morphed into spontaneous cheers. Michael's dreams were intact, yet the impact was greater. A wave of realization swept across the courtroom. They had shifted the dynamics of power just slightly. Greg's expression darkened, recognizing the implications of a precedent set, not merely for Michael, but for every potential winner facing the same threat. Weeks later, policy revisions rolled out. Regulatory bodies convened, driven by the social outcry ignited by Michael's case. No longer would hidden clauses reign. Scrutiny became a priority, casting light into the depths where once dusts and despair remained. Michael had become a symbol, not merely of victory but of systemic change, a beacon for those overshadowed in silence. Eleanor stood by Michael as he reflected on his journey. It could have gone another way, she acknowledged, both of them keenly aware of the fine line between fortune and misfortune. But this victory was just the beginning, Michael replied. Resolute, strength blossomed in solidarity. Their voices were now joined with a shared mission, a collective determination to uplift others burdened by the insidious nature of fine print. As they stepped into the sunlight, the world outside felt different. At times, shadows lingered, nebulous and confusing. But Michael found solace in knowing he had transformed his ordeal into a force for good. He would continue fighting for others, turning this chapter into a platform. Unexpectedly, the ticking time bomb of fine print had morphed into a war cry for clarity. Hope echoing where deception once lingered. Michael and Eleanor, allies in the upheaval of fortune, became conduits for change, their stories intertwining seamlessly as they delved into a world of advocacy. They hosted workshops and community discussions about the necessity of transparency in contracts, bringing to light the lurking dangers hiding in plain sight. Together, they galvanized a movement that enabled people to reclaim their power. With hearts filled with purpose, Michael and Eleanor sat at a cafe one last time, sipping coffee, the air electric with possibility. The journey had reshaped their lives profoundly. Amid the chaos of life, they had illuminated a path for others. The era of hidden traps was over. Now, armed with knowledge, communities began to flourish, imbued with courage to not just chase dreams, but to protect them fiercely. Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe for more.